In ancient Kerala, the science of toxicology, known as Visha Vaidyam, was a highly structured medical discipline. It required the mastery of specific mantras and herbal formulas to neutralize venomous bites that were otherwise considered a death sentence. Karattu Namboodiri was the undisputed master of this field. His reputation was vast. He operated with total confidence, certain his expertise covered every possible variation of serpent and venom in the region. That immense confidence met its very first challenge during a strange, unprecedented medical crisis at the Vadakkunnathan Temple in Thrissur. Worshippers arrived one morning to find a massive, terrifying serpent coiled around the main temple bell. The sight caused an immediate public panic, as no one had ever seen a snake of that size within the temple grounds. Namboori dismissed the crowd's terror. He treated the reported threat as a routine technical problem. He confidently walked toward the bell to apply his standard protocols for venomous reptiles. An expert who has mastered their local environment often develops a blind spot. They assume their regional rules describe the entire world, leaving them unprepared for an anomaly that sits outside their known systems. Namboori began with a standard binding mantra. He gripped the serpent by the tail and pulled, expecting to physically remove the creature from the bell so he could neutralize it. The snake didn't budge. Instead, its body began to stretch unnaturally. Even as Namboori pulled the tail across the floor, the head remained coiled around the bell, wrapping itself 3 times around the temple's inner sanctum. Dragging the tail into the courtyard, Namboori completed 3 full circuits of the temple, yet the snake simply continued to lengthen. This broke every biological and magical law. He was facing a creature that created its own mass, rendering his training completely irrelevant. Overcome by the impossibility of the situation, Namboori fled. He ran to a nearby pond and began an emergency prayer to the divine eagle Garuda, seeking any power that could override the anomaly. A voice echoed from the inner shrine. Lord Shiva intervened directly, identifying the serpent as the divine Vasuki and commanding it to return to him. The snake vanished instantly, ending the clinical crisis. When a specialist encounters a phenomenon that defies every established rule, they face a choice: retire or find a teacher who understands the impossible. Namboori realized his regional knowledge was exhausted. He left Kerala and traveled north, crossing into the Himalayas to find a level of science that existed beyond conventional medicine. He arrived in the extreme environment of Badrinath. He sought an ascetic master who could handle the types of toxins and entities that never appeared in the lowlands. He located a sannyasi meditating on the rocky slopes. The master agreed to evaluate Namboori's current skill level before deciding whether to teach him. Despite his recent failures, Namboori's professional pride remained. He claimed to the sannyasi that he could cure any form of snake venom known to man. Intellectual pride often survives initial failures. A practitioner will frequently cling to their familiar advantages until they are placed in an environment that exposes the true depth of their ignorance. The sannyasi began a stress test. He tied Namboori to a tree and used a specific herb to drive every standard animal out of the forest. The local wildlife fled in a desperate panic. From the east, the apex threat arrived. A serpent of unimaginable scale slithered into the clearing, bringing a wave of catastrophic heat. The creature carried a full-grown wild elephant in mouth as if it were a small frog. Its venomous breath was so potent that it actively scorched the trees, turning the surrounding forest into a wasteland of ash. Confronted with a scale of toxicity that made his previous work look like child's play, Namboori's mind shut down. He lost consciousness from the sheer pressure of the encounter. High-level stress tests serve a specific purpose. They push the student until their current worldview breaks, revealing the exact limits of their training. Namboori woke to find the forest restored. The sannyasi had easily neutralized the threat and reversed the damage to the environment. Namboori finally spoke the truth. He retracted his previous claims of mastery and admitted he knew nothing of true toxicology. Namboori's admission allowed the sannyasi to begin. Over the next several weeks, he taught Namboori to secret mantras and herbal recipes that sat outside common medical knowledge. Namboori returned to Kerala with a newfound stillness. He spent the following decades establishing an elite lineage of medical disciples, solving cases that had baffled every other healer in the region. Lasting technical legacies are not built on early confidence. They are forged when an expert encounters the limits of their knowledge and has the discipline to start over.